On a sun-drenched afternoon at a public pool, laughter echoed off the water as families splashed and played. For one black teenager, this scene of summer joy was about to transform into a nightmare of discrimination. As the boy dove into the cool water, a white woman's voice cut through the air. "You don't belong here," she hissed. Her words carried the weight of generations of prejudice, but she was unaware of the force she was about to face. Unknown to her, a federal judge, the boy's mother, was present, ready to confront this blatant act of racism with the full power of her position and experience. As we reflect on this real-life story, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more daily stories that need to be heard. Hit that subscribe button and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. The sun blazed mercilessly over the community pool, its rays reflecting off the rippling water. Families crowded the area, seeking respite from the oppressive summer heat. Ganit Wright-Muir's son, a lanky teenager with a swimmer's build, approached the pool's edge, eyes sparkling with excitement. As the young man prepared to dive, a harsh voice cut through the cheerful atmosphere. "Hey, you can't be here!" A middle-aged white woman marched towards him, her face contorted with anger. The teen froze, confusion etched across his features. "This is a private pool. You don't have the right to be here," she spat, her words dripping with disdain. Other pool-goers began to take notice, conversations dying down as heads turned towards the commotion. "Ma'am, I live in this community. I have every right to be here," the teen replied, his voice wavering slightly. The woman's eyes narrowed. "I know everyone who lives here, and I've never seen you before. You need to leave right now before I call security." Her assumption hung in the air, unspoken but clear. She believed he didn't belong because of the color of his skin. A palpable tension settled over the pool area. Some onlookers shifted uncomfortably, while others whispered among themselves. A few brave souls inched closer, torn between intervening and avoiding conflict. The teen's shoulders slumped, the joy of the afternoon evaporating. He reached for his phone with trembling hands, dialing a number he knew by heart. "Mom," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I need your help. There's a woman here who says I don't belong." Miles away in her office, Ganit Wright-Muir felt her heart skip a beat as she listened to her son's distressed voice. "Stay calm, sweetie. I'm on my way," she assured him, already reaching for her car keys. Ganit's grip tightened on the steering wheel as she sped towards the community pool, her judicial robes forgotten in the back seat. Today she wasn't Judge Wright-Muir. She was a mother, ready to defend her child and confront the ugly face of discrimination head-on. Ganit Wright-Muir arrived at the community pool, her heart pounding with a mix of anger and determination. The sound of raised voices drew her attention to a small crowd gathered near the deep end. There she saw her son, shoulders hunched, facing a white woman whose finger jabbed accusatorily in the air. A surge of protective fury coursed through Ganit's veins. Years of confronting racial biases had honed her ability to maintain composure in the face of injustice. She took a deep breath, channeling her emotions into a steely resolve as she approached the scene. "Excuse me," Ganit's voice rang out, clear and authoritative. The white woman whirled around, her expression morphing from anger to surprise. "I believe you're having an issue with my son." The woman's eyes narrowed, taking in Ganit's professional attire and commanding presence. "Your son? Well, he doesn't belong here. This is a private pool, and I know everyone who lives in this community." Ganit allowed a small, composed smile to play at her lips. "I'm Ganit Wright-Muir, and I can assure you, we very much belong here." The effect was immediate. The woman's jaw dropped, her arrogance evaporating like mist in the summer heat. Around them, whispers rippled through the gathered onlookers. Ganit could see the realization dawning in their eyes. The stark contrast between the woman's baseless assumptions and the reality standing before them. I didn't," the woman stammered, her face flushing with embarrassment and shock. Ganit held up a hand, silencing her. "What happened here today goes beyond a simple misunderstanding. It speaks to deeper issues of prejudice and discrimination that we, as a community, need to address." As she spoke, Ganit felt the weight of her position. She understood the significance of her presence in this moment, challenging the very stereotypes that had led to this confrontation. The incident at the pool had started as a personal affront, but as Gannett looked around at the mix of shame, surprise, and dawning understanding on the faces of those gathered, she realized it had the potential to become something much more. This could be the catalyst for change, a moment that forced their community to confront its hidden biases and work towards true inclusivity. With a gentle hand on her son's shoulder, Gannett turned to address the crowd. The air crackled with tension and possibility. At that moment, standing by the shimmering water of the community pool, she prepared to turn a simple swim into a powerful lesson on justice and equality. The ripples from Gannett's confrontation at the pool were about to become a tidal wave of change. A shaky video of the incident, captured by a bystander's smartphone, spread rapidly across local networks, laying bare the ugly face of discrimination that many in the community had tried to ignore. Reactions poured in from all corners. Some expressed outrage, while others attempted to downplay the incident as a misunderstanding. For many, the video served as a painful wake-up call, forcing them to confront the uncomfortable reality of racial bias in their own backyards. Local officials scrambled to contain the situation. The mayor's office released a tepid statement, acknowledging the incident while carefully avoiding any admission of systemic issues. For Gannett Wright-Muir, the official response only fueled her determination. As she watched her son grapple with the aftermath of the confrontation, his usual confidence shaken, she made a decision. This time would be different. Drawing on her years of experience as both a federal judge and a community advocate, Gannett began to formulate a plan. She reached out to local civil rights organizations, community leaders, and fellow members of Diversity and Aquatics. Together, they conceived of a powerful response, a community swim-in protest at the very pool where the incident had occurred. Gannett and her team worked tirelessly, coordinating logistics and preparing for potential pushback. They drew inspiration from the civil rights movements of the past, adapting strategies to address the present-day challenges of racial discrimination in public spaces. As the day of the protest approached, nervous energy gripped the community. The uncertainty was palpable, but Gannett remained resolute. She knew that change often came at a cost, and she was prepared to pay for it. The morning of the swim-in dawned bright and clear. As Gannett arrived at the pool, her heart swelled with emotion. Hundreds of people of all races and ages stood waiting. They carried signs proclaiming, "Water is for everyone," and "End pool discrimination now." The sight was a powerful visual statement against the very prejudices that had sparked this movement. As the protesters entered the pool area, their diverse faces reflected in the shimmering water, Gannett felt a profound sense of hope. This was more than just a response to one incident. It was a community coming together to demand change and to insist on a future where everyone could enjoy public spaces without fear or prejudice. The swim-in marked a turning point, but Gannett knew it was only the beginning. As she watched her son join his peers in the water, laughing and splashing without a care, she turned her mind to the work ahead. There would be policies to change, training programs to implement, and deep-seated biases to confront. But for now, in this moment of unity and purpose, anything seemed possible. Fort Lauderdale faced a pivotal moment in the aftermath of the swim-in incident. The community pool confrontation had exposed long-buried tensions, forcing residents to confront uncomfortable truths about their city's social fabric. As video footage of the event spread across social media, local government officials felt the weight of public scrutiny. City Commissioner Robert McKenzie's voice carried a mix of determination and unease as he addressed the situation. "We're working on a plan to ensure incidents like this don't happen again," he stated, his brow furrowed under the harsh fluorescent lights. The pool staff should never have called the police in this situation. While the city scrambled to address the immediate fallout, a more insidious resistance began to take root. In coffee shops and on community forums, voices of denial rose to the surface. Some insisted it was just a misunderstanding, their words thinly veiling deeper prejudices. Others questioned the need for change, arguing that one incident didn't reflect systemic issues. Gannett Wright-Muir observed this unfolding drama with a mix of frustration and resolve. Drawing on her experience as a federal judge and her passion as a community advocate, She proposed the formation of a task force to develop comprehensive new policies and training programs. The task force meetings were a study in contrast. Around the table sat a diverse group of community leaders, each bringing their perspective to the issue. Ganit often found herself mediating between those eager for swift action and others who counseled caution. The discussions were heated, the challenges numerous. "We simply don't have the funds for extensive new programs," the city's financial officer argued, his spreadsheets a fortress of numbers. Gannett countered passionately, "The cost of inaction is far greater than any budget concerns." As weeks turned into months, the community held its collective breath. Gannett felt the weight of expectation on her. She thought of her son, of the hurt in his eyes that day at the pool, and redoubled her efforts. Finally, after countless meetings and revisions, the task force unveiled its recommendations. A comprehensive diversity training program for all pool staff was at the forefront, focusing on de-escalation tactics and cultural sensitivity. Alongside this, a new community outreach program aimed to address the historical disconnect between Black residents and aquatic spaces. At the program's launch, Thaddeus Gamori, Director of Community Engagement for Diversity in Aquatics, spoke with conviction. "Using police power to remove people from pools maintains the disconnect Black people have with water," he stated, his words resonating through the community center. The room fell silent, the weight of history and the promise of change hanging in the air. As the new programs rolled out, Fort Lauderdale began to feel a subtle shift. Conversations about race and equity, once relegated to whispers, now took place openly in public forums. The ripples from that fateful day at the pool continued to spread, touching lives and challenging long-held beliefs. Ganit Wright Muir stood at the edge of the community pool as the sun set, casting long shadows across the water. Her son dove confidently into the cool depths alongside a diverse group of friends, a sight that filled her with a mix of pride and determination. The once tumultuous surface now reflected a community transformed, though Gannett knew the journey was far from over. The path from confrontation to this moment of relative peace had been arduous. Gannett reflected on the key victories: new diversity training programs for staff, community outreach initiatives, and a shift in the pool's atmosphere. The lifeguards, now more attuned to de-escalation and cultural sensitivity, stood as a testament to the progress made. As she watched her son swim, Gannett was reminded of the historical disconnect between Black people and water. This pool, once a battleground, had become a symbol of resilience and progress. Her son emerged, water cascading off his shoulders, grinning at her. In that moment, she saw a future where such spaces were truly inclusive. The last rays of sunlight glinted off the water as Gannett contemplated the work still ahead. The fight against racial bias would require constant vigilance and action, but for now, in this hard-won moment of equality, she allowed herself to appreciate the progress made and the promise it held for future generations. Join our community of people who believe in justice, empathy, and powerful storytelling. By subscribing, you're not just watching, you're part of a movement that values real stories and change. Add us to your daily routine and make every story count. Subscribe and join us each day for stories that make an impact.